action economy, an often used term when building characters. What do people mean by that? What is it? Is it something you should try to maximize? The answer is no. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where we conjure wolves and raptors and baboons with pack tactics and get infinite action economy. Your action economy is basically your access to your movement, action, bonus action, and your reaction. If you move 30 feet, cast Hex, and then Eldritch Blast, and then cast Hellish Rebuke when you take damage, you've used your whole action economy for that round. Action economy is often viewed as a great metric for a character or party's effectiveness. If you regularly use all of your action economy, that is viewed as super strong. I'm going to be paraphrasing slightly, but I've seen people say something like, if a player wants to make the best use of their action economy, they will try to find ways to make regular uses of their movement, their action, their reaction, and their bonus action. A common strategy to this effect is recommending a cleric to cast Spirit Guardians on round 1 and then Spiritual Weapon on round 2. Now they have a supposedly great use of their bonus action every round, and can deal Spirit Guardians damage as well as casting a cantrip every round. This, however, is not strong. I've made an entire video about why Spiritual Weapon is bad, which I'll link down below. So here's the thing, using more of your action economy is not inherently powerful. Many builds that create lots of action economy in the forms of summons and stuff are really powerful. However, that is not the reason why. Instead, power is power. We should instead look at the efficiency and the output of your action economy rather than how much you use. That is extremely important. Let's say we have a ranger that uses their bonus action every round on crossbow experts. If this ranger could do more damage with their turns using a different weapon, let's say a really powerful magical longbow for example. If they use this, they'll be unable to use their bonus action for attacks. But who cares? You have a stronger character if you use the magical longbow, because it's more DPR, even if they almost never use their bonus action. Me and many other people recommend crossbow expert, not because it fills your bonus action, but instead because it is the most powerful option. Like guys, think of it this way. Why do people promote Polar Master more than 2-weapon fighting? It's because Polar Master is powerful. 2-weapon fighting, even though it has a bonus action attack, sucks. That might change in the new player's handbook that's coming out, but I don't know. It's not out yet. Anyways, of course, there is something to be said about overkilling. If you wouldn't ever use your bonus action, you are better off splitting single target damage between your action and bonus action, all else being equal. But there's also a certain threshold where trading this to do a lot more damage with your action will be worth it. For the sake of arguments, just imagine that the threshold is met. You know what else is powerful? World Anvil, where you can make powerful worlds with powerful tools. With World Anvil, the world is at your fingertips. Create fascinating worlds with good guidance from not only the site itself, but also the community that's dedicated to storytelling. It's optimal to ask for help when you really need it. Kobold, we can create Gatorlands together. Correct. World Anvil lets you collaborate with your friends to create awesome worlds together. And that includes your players, Mr. DM. I hope your players are friends, by the way. A DM is just a really big player. That's how I view DMs. Yeah, I agree with that. Tabletop games are team games where both sides work together to make a grand adventure. Storytelling is insanely fun, be it big or small. One man's action can potentially change the game or even the whole world. And World Anvil is fantastic at keeping track of important events like that. I highly recommend you check out World Anvil. To help you optimize, use the code PACK at the checkout and you'll get a 51% off any yearly subscription. Back to the video. A cleric barely adds any offensive output by casting Spiritual Weapon. It is not worth the second level spell slot compared to the other spells. Yes, you are absolutely correct that you are clearly rounding out your action economy, but that isn't important. Leaving your actions unspent isn't a problem if you're winning with reasonable losses to your resources. You could cast Spirit Guardians and Spiritual Weapon weapon, sure, but that is a worse use of your resources than the alternatives. Spiritual weapon in practice is used to make you take less damage. If you kill the enemy faster, you lose less HP, and so does your friends. Makes sense, right? If the enemy dies, they can't do anything to you, obviously. But here's the funny meme. Healing Word actually restores more hit points than you'd save casting Spiritual Weapon. Nevertheless, you are only using one bonus action instead of multiple that Spiritual Weapon would allow you to use. This doesn't even take into account that other spells are better than Healing Word, which may not allow you to use any bonus action. That is to say that using your action economy as much as possible is a flawed heuristic to tell how powerful your character is. Some people say you should instead care about how efficiently you use your action economy, which I also don't think is a very useful metric, even if it's true. That's just saying power equals power, but in other words, your output and efficiency are the metrics that matter. This is what I think. How much you can remove action economy from enemies is actually a good metric at seeing how strong your characters are. If the enemy is dead, they can't do anything anymore. If you're using something like the slow spell, you remove reactions and the target can only use an action or bonus action, and even then only one attack. This can potentially affect 6 creatures too, so there's also that to factor in. Anyways, if you use Hypnotic Pattern, you can remove the action economy entirely from the targets. AoE Shutdown. Of course, for both spells, it requires the targets to fail to save, and it only removes the action economy for some rounds. It's more than enough rounds, to be honest. How much you can remove action economy is a better way to gauge how powerful you are, because enemies don't really care about efficiency like players do. Enemies won't have multiple fights in one day like you do. They can literally spam everything they have. For output, they can use their most powerful options immediately. And if you're doing 8 encounters like in a dungeon crawl, that racks up quite a bit. This is why control as well as high damage is insanely powerful. Both of them allow you to remove the offensive output from enemies. Their offensive output makes you lose HP, which is basically the thing you want to avoid as much as possible. It's the most valuable resource in the game. Hit points. Spells like Sleet Storm or Plant Growth or Spike Growth can heavily reduce the enemy's action economy, and thus their offensive outputs. This is massive! If the melee enemy, for example, can't get to you, then they can't damage you. They do nothing. They can't do anything. And these spells that I just named, that's just an action cast. You're not using a bonus action, you're not using a reaction. You just used a single action. Using as much of your own action economy is super overhyped in the wider community, and that same applies to power gamers. It's really silly. I believe that it doesn't actually matter all that much. Some builds like Rangers happen to have good action economy, but that doesn't make it a great indicator. In the end, you should remember that power is power. A dead or debilitated enemy is something you should aim for. End of video. I hope I earned your subscription and maybe your support on Patreon. By the way, guys, do you guys want to see something really scary? Kobold, if you do it, I'll end the video. Kobold, no!